Hello and welcome to Brexit The Final Countdown. We have 163 days to go until the 31st of October. We have 2 days until the European elections. We have 14 days until the week where we might vote on the WAB. And we have 365 days until the next British Podcast Awards, where hopefully we will win the Listener's Choice Awards. Joining us this week on the countdown are our regulars, Paul Baldwin, Head of News.
Hello.
And Thomas Hunt, Video News Editor for Express.co.uk.
Hello.
I'm Rebecca Hutson. Chaps, we have a big, bold Brexit offer. We have a big, bold Boris. We have a Milkshake, Dow's Farage. We've got everything to play for. Are you ready?
Yes, absolutely. I think the big, new bold idea will turn out to be exactly the same idea we've been hearing about for the last months and years.
Excellent.
I'm afraid so.
Excellent intro, excellent tease. So 9:30 this morning, cabinet meeting began not that long ago, where Theresa May is going to kind of present and discuss this very sexy new Brexit plan, which is definitely going to pass, despite your naysaying. So it's like, apparently it's going to kind of try and appease everyone, which means it will appeal to no one, right? So we've got Parliament getting a vote on the future relationship, a vote on the use of the Irish backstop, a pledge to seek alternative arrangements by 2021, a commitment on workers' rights and the environment. Northern Irish Assembly will get a say on the use of the backstop. Is there going to be a customs union? I mean, she's really trying to play to everyone. She's got the 1922 committee in there, Labour,
I've got to
the
say,
DUP.
right, the first thing that strikes me before you even get into the detail is that
That's all the detail.
no one ever says, no one ever said fourth time lucky or fourth time a charm. This is the fourth time she's attempted to do this.
But this is a whole new thing.
It's exactly the same thing she's had. The problems are exactly the same. They're intrinsic. They're not moving. They're not shifting. And if she comes out, she's going to come out with some sort of concocted customs union. And she may call, if I was her PR advisor, I would advise her to call it a streamlining of tariff systems or something like that. But it's a customs union. And it will serve nobody's purposes. We've been saying all along. It will be a mishmash of fudge, and we will be worse than when we started. And
but
no
it
one
might
voted for
pass, mightn't it? If it's got a customs union in there, doesn't that kind of secure her enough Labour MPs to maybe get this to pass in the first week of June when we get to vote on it? Thomas, what do you think?
The key difference is this.
What do you think?
This, potentially because this is the bill as a whole. Mm-hmm. This is not the agreement that was voted on previously, which would have meant, yes, we agree to this, and then it goes through. This is a bill that MPs, it runs through like any other bill. It would come through the second reading.
Yeah.
So MPs will vote on this in the knowledge that it will then come back to them to make adjustments to and have discussion on. The MPs will know that if they reject this, all of their little individual hopes and dreams for Brexit, be it a Norway agreement or a second referendum or whatever else, can't happen unless they can add them to this bill. So it needs to pass this stage in order for them to get it back and make all their tinkering and
So do you think it will pass if she makes all these? No?
I think she has put it down so that this is her only hope, and without trying to get technical in the politics, but in what she's trying to do behind it, she has actually put it out there to say, you can vote on this now. But I think she has missed the fundamental bit that everyone is so entrenched in their corners and have repeated lines for the last 18 months.
We've said before that everyone has made their position clear. Well, apart from the Labour Party, obviously, who haven't made their position to be not clear at least. And no one... It seems incredible that anyone would change that position at this late stage of the game. And if they did, it would only be out of desperation. And that's no way forward for a nation to go, for political decisions to be made.
Okay, so it doesn't pass, and then what happens?
Then the wheels are in motion for a Tory leadership.
Right,
election.
which we'll come to. You were saying earlier, so you've alluded to it, it's like, well, what are the mechanisms behind what she's trying to do here?
She's obviously thinks she's been a little bit clever, or her and her team, in that she said, right, hang on, this isn't the final say. This is just, if you agree to this, it goes, the wheels are in motion again and this gets moving. So she wants, in sort of sports terms, she wants a little win in order to hopefully end up and get the ball rolling, get some momentum and not look quite like the loser she currently
So it basically keeps the train on the track, but the destination is still as unclear
Yeah.
as it ever was.
And it's not going to encourage MPs when it comes back to them. They're not going to suddenly have changed and go, oh, well, actually, this is a great deal. This is, now I've had a chance.
Why didn't you say that in the first place, Theresa?
They are still going to want to turn around and say, I want this or I want that. And I the second referendum bit is her hope. She hopes that by saying, you've all, or groups of you have clamoured for a second referendum, here's your chance to put it to the House and get it put into law, because that is the key fact. If this goes away, if it's agreed,
problematic at every level. She's, as we speak now, she's in cabinet with 3 or 4 people who actively want her job.
It's like being at this podcast.
There's no,
that's how I feel.
Welcome to your there's Liz Truss, Jeremy Hunt, Saeed Javid. How awkward is that conversation? How awkward is that meeting going to be? That they're looking at Theresa delivering whatever she's saying, and you know that they're thinking, I want you out, love, on your way, and I want your job. And that's all they're thinking about. And that, again, goes to the heart of why it has been so problematic, because at no point, or seemingly at no point, has everyone sat down and thought, what is the best thing to do for the nation at this point, without that being at least tinged and maybe absolutely informed by what is the best thing to do for my job and my career in politics. And that's a massive part of why we are in this mess where we are now, where we find ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's also if you had all the time, if you thought your back was against the wall and you've failed at this point, you would like to think that the leader of the country could come up with something a little more original. I don't know, a unique idea that would. She has quite honestly listened probably to what Labour and Corbyn were saying. Said, "Oh, okay, I could potentially this about the environment, this about workers' rights, and hint at this about the backstop, because they haven't actually said what the new arrangement.
We'd seek alternative ones by 2021.
Which
more than
I think what we can guarantee. We've touched on this before, but the language that the politicians have used all the way along beggars belief. It's been trumpeted that she's going to come out of cabinet and make a new, bold offer. I think what we can guarantee about this offer, it will be neither new nor bold. I think we can definitely say that. It will be the same old, uninspiring, insipid stuff that we've had from day one.
It boils down completely to, if you are an opponent of this, of which the majority are, you have to back it in order to make your changes. She hopes that is, and they're going to be working behind the scenes to be like getting that message across. She's going to say to the ministers today, you have to each go away, and this is the message. You have to back this to make any changes. So if you are in any way claims that you support Brexit or you don't or whatever, this bill needs to go through in order for you to make your changes. So
I think there is
that
a
is
slim possibility that she could just about get enough backing to keep the train on the rails, but it still doesn't really get us any further to where we need to be, because we still have to be clear where we want to go and we're not.
And coupled with that, I think I don't think plans for the EU elections to be disastrous, but I think they can see it where it's going. And I think part of it comes in that she thinks if they get such a hammering in the EU elections, it will panic MPs from Labour and the Tories to agree to this. Can I just say as well, by the way, that Guy Verhofstadt has just come out and said, and I quote, "The EU will die from the inside if right-wing populists triumph in this week's European election," which is, I think, what I said last week, almost verbatim.
Do you think he's listening to the...
I think he's a bit of a fan.
in the awards, though, did he? Yeah, what's he saying? He'll debate Salvini.
What we were saying last week was that the elections have two major planks of it for me. The British side, which we'll discuss in a sec, but the across the water, across the channel, there are likely to be significant gains by the right-wing populists, and we will end up with an EU Parliament which will have people in there who want to take it down, who want to destroy it, and that will be a bizarre and strange time for politics. You know, I mean, we're living through some incredibly strange times for politics, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till Friday morning, you know. Or
really
Sunday,
are.
I think, with the results coming out.
Okay, so if this is keeping the train on the track, what about we just get a new train? Who are we excited about? Everyone wants her job for some reason. Also, did we know that Esther McVey?
Everyone apart from me. There's not enough money in the world.
And I think you're doing all right here. Did we know Esther McVey is engaged to Philip Davies? Firstly,
No, didn't know that.
isn't that a bizarre? Well, maybe not a bizarre union, but lovely that you can meet someone in the catwalk.
No gags about withdrawal agreements. No,
Yeah,
okay.
no more gags about. Sorry, that was just a nice little. I just thought it was quite sweet. I mean, enter Boris, right?
Well, enter Boris.
He's the one to beat.
He's the. Again, it's I can't remember who was saying this. This is not a popularity contest, or this is not a beauty contest. It's not a reality TV, but of course it's all of those things. And Boris, in terms of votability, is so far ahead of the field as to make the rest look laughable.
You don't agree with that? I know you love Michael Gove, but what do you think about Boris and his chances?
I can't see the MPs. His biggest issue is the MPs. So if he gets to the final two, Boris wins.
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't see the Tory party. They will have been plotting and all sorts behind the scenes, and they need the support of it. Goes to them with the votes and the initial, and they will do everything
Tom's
they
right,
can.
and this
to
goes
get
to
rid
the
of him.
heart of what we've been talking about for weeks, and it is that what the public, what the people, what the voters want, and the real politic of what happens within the party machinery, which is why the public voted for Brexit, and we're not having Brexit because of the internal workings of the party machinery. And Boris will face a similar thing. I agree. I'm not saying Boris is by no means a great candidate. I think Boris is a bit of a fraud. We don't really know where he stands on Brexit, for example, today, because it could change with the wind, depending
Still got
on
those two letters, haven't he? His original.
Yeah. Well, he
Remain
wrote a
lead.
piece for the Telegraph saying the EU is the greatest boon to mankind ever, or something, and then disowned it. But it was subsequently printed, I think, in the
Oh, really?
in the Sunday Times. I
He's
think
not overly principled, is he?
he's it just you cannot know which side he's working for, or do it, or think which way he's thinking today. Basically,
The campaigns have started for
In
each of
earnest.
the
Good
leaders.
grief.
And even Jacob Rees-Mogg this morning was, and to paraphrase him, because he went on for quite a while about it, he pretty much said that this is a unique situation and calls for a unique candidate. And that's why he was supporting Boris, because he was of the list, as he went through it, he said, Boris is the only one with that unique whatever that he thinks could throw this.
the only chance
over
that the Tory party would have in a general election is Boris, because the rest they just haven't got the sort of presence, I guess, of Boris, or the everyone knows Boris. Who knows Dominic Raab? Who knows the other? Some of the contenders. Even I'm struggling to think. I do know you, but I'm not quite.
We've all seen their kitchens and met their wives now,
Yeah.
so we're a bit better acquainted. The Bamber ticket could be interesting, though. Did you see them last night liking each other's tweets?
Yeah.
Kind of, because she knows, we know that a nice sort of softy Remainer is not going to get this.
A few
gig,
years
so-
ago, Liverpool had a twin manager system, and that didn't work either.
Well, she
You
said
need
she's
someone to-
desperate. She said she'd love to be Chancellor, didn't she? So so maybe that would work quite nicely. Bamber, it just works, Bamber.
It's
hashtag.
it's very
It's a
handy.
great hashtag.
It's very
easy to
handy for
say.
hashtags and sub-editors, I have to say.
Yeah.
Whether it will be that handy for the nation as a whole is a moot point.
That is a whole different podcast, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely,
Did you
yeah.
see this Labour list stuff that a survey of Labour candidates there that Boris is the one
Yeah,
that they're all
they're
terrified
scared of Boris because
They're
they
all
know
scared of him.
his populist.
Boris the hardest,
Appeal,
Rory
really.
Stewart
Yeah,
the
yeah.
second hardest, and Paul Amber in third.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a confused bunch,
Go
aren't they?
figure. Yeah.
Go
But
figure.
the EU have said the same. They have the documentary, the behind the scenes documentary that the BBC put out.
Did you watch that ever?
I did watch that, yes.
Really?
Yeah, it was spectacular.
They,
What was your favourite bit?
Was this like doing my homework?
I just wanted to ask you because I just can't believe that you'd lie. But what did you find?
My favourite bit was, I don't know, there was so many bits where you just
okay, yeah,
were railing
one of those.
against thinking, oh my God, I can't believe. Ollie Robbins telling Verhofstadt, relating what Ollie Robbins had said to him, can I come and live in Belgium when this is all over?
Quite-
Just spoke volumes
Yeah.
for why we are where we are.
Quite.
If that's our chief Brexit negotiator.
Yeah,
No
imagine.
wonder.
What chance did we
Yeah.
stand?
Yeah.
They admitted, and they said as well that Boris would be an unknown. The EU the one thing we have learnt in the last few years is that the EU like to know exactly what's coming, and they don't like a curveball being thrown in the mix, which might appeal. I mean, that might be that might be Boris's whole.
Maybe Boris is who we
No,
deserve.
there's no one like Churchill when he started out, when he was mooted as PM, and he turned out to be all right. Boris, however, is a stablemate of David Cameron, and that fills me with dread because David Cameron's the reason we're in this. If we can blame it on one man, it's David, I'm afraid.
But
for why we are where we are.
To go to the leadership race is going to be completely and utterly bonkers because even Nicholas Soames, the grandson of Churchill, was joking yesterday that he was going to put himself forward.
Oh,
He
good
thinks
grief.
he's the
How are we
guy
gonna
the
keep
nation
up?
needs. I mean, they are, and the real fear, I think, and the EU would say at the moment, their real fear would be that the Tories are just going to be so focused on this leadership election.
Here's another point, right? This is interesting in a kind of political debate way, but if you think the public cares, you are sadly mistaken. They care about Brexit. I obviously as a news editor, I deal with this stuff day in, day out, 7 days a week, and when there is a massive appetite for knowing everything that is going on about Brexit, there is almost no appetite for who's going to lead the Tory party. They just don't care. People just don't care because they know that there is no knight in shining armour coming over the hill to rescue the nation. Heseltine, who came out and said he's not going to vote Tory.
He's voting Lib Dem.
He's voting
this
Lib
is
Dem.
balmy.
But he did once say a very insightful thing, which was that the British public see with blinding clarity. And that's, I think, where we are now. We are, I like my literary illusions. So my literary illusion this week is we are at the end of The Wizard of Oz, right? And Toto is pulling back the curtain. And we are realising that the people in charge, or the person in charge, has not been this sort of omnipotent, all-seeing,
Toto?
all-white little dog.
The people?
Little dog.
No, I know. No,
Oh, no,
in the analogy, I know who
you
Toto
take my analogy too literally.
Oh, I thought maybe...
right?
I haven't thought that far into it.
What I'm saying,
sorry,
what I'm saying is he pulls back the curtain and we realise that the show has not been
I thought
run
maybe the
by
British people were
wise, all-seeing, beneficent people, right?
Yeah.
It's run by a little man pulling some levers, and that's what the public are now seeing, that there's no deference. We are not the sort of, shrivelling masses anymore, doffing our caps to the great and the good. We're seeing these people for what they are, which is...
Charlatans,
frauds,
amateurs,
amateurs. They're not people who inspire you or you have any faith in the leadership capabilities of. And it's a whole new political era for me, that. Yeah. There's no... the deference has completely gone. We think the people in charge of us don't really deserve to be in charge of us, and we're probably right.
Post-hope.
Post-hope.
Excellent. Just where we want to be. There is one man who's doing all right there, isn't there? Can you imagine who I'm talking about?
He's doing very well for milkshake sales, I understand.
We are going to talk about the milkshakes.
All right.
What did you think about that?
I was shocked by it, and I just think it's appalling, really. It's just, it's really funny, isn't it? No, it's not. Flip Frage for, say, Diane Abbott or something like that. Is it still funny? No, it's not. It's disgusting, and it was disgusting. It's always disgusting. Attacks on politicians should be seen for what they are. A guy is being charged this morning.
Do you not think that's a little much, though?
No, it's an assault. It's a common assault.
Common assault,
and it should be. The whole point is you need to send out a message to say it is not acceptable that if you disagree with somebody, you can assault them, because ultimately down the line, this is really dark. But Joe Cox, where does it end? Where's the line? The line is there isn't a line. No attacks at any level are acceptable on politicians.
Milkshakes and new eggs.
So.
But then if we had someone turning around like John Prescott did when he got hit with the egg and
Who egged him?
punching.
Chumbawamba? Or was that separate?
No.
No, that was-
What am I confusing?
Just some bloke. That was.
did Chumbawamba
some woman
do to
poured some
Gordon
water
Brown?
over John Prescott.
Yes.
is what
Oh,
they
he
did.
Prescott
really
was
copped
no.
it, didn't
Prescott had a
he?
few.
Yeah.
He was a target for. A
But
while.
he was
Okay,
he was
so
an amateur boxer, wasn't he, Prescott? And
Yes.
he just turned around and lamped him.
Because the guy threw the egg from probably the distance
Yeah.
Jodie and I are
Yeah.
from each other now, and Prescott did turn around and hit him a few times.
And while we all felt quietly satisfied probably about that in many ways, again, it's not a solution, is it? That's not really what you want to be seeing in your senior politicians.
But also, if you come away, yes, it is wrong, but it also shows you've lost the argument there. The story that throwing the milkshake over Farage probably won him more voters on Thursday than any speech he could have given in Newcastle's city centre.
These things are ever likely to backfire, and all it will do is entrench and harden support for Nigel Farage. And the other thing is, this bloke who's supposed to be an avowed socialist had paid £5.40 for a posh salted caramel milkshake, apparently, allegedly, and I'm out to
It was a treat, and he just was so frustrated by the
I mean,
state of British discourse.
Viva la revolution, mate, with your £5.40 milkshake.
Let them drink milkshakes.
Let's drink milkshake, absolutely.
Okay, so we condemn any assaults on any politician and public figure. Is that
we
right?
absolutely do. Yeah.
It's just good to establish that position. But he's having a great. He's in Olympia tonight. There'll be no milkshakes, I'm pretty sure, served there. Having is it his final rally then? No, he'll have one more tomorrow, I want to assume.
We're on Tuesday, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's the final. London, he's sticking around London now.
They're doing very well, aren't they, in
Else on
London?
Thursday.
Well, they're doing very well everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah.
If we're being honest, and it's it will be really interesting to see what happens on Thursday.
Do you still think people are just going to not
I don't
pay any
know.
attention to it as a?
I now don't know because
democracy?
what has slightly shifted is that Farage is asking for if his party does really well on Thursday, he's asking for some say in the negotiations. Now that's a bit of a game changer for me because it's possible that he might be given that in an attempt to.
Who is going to give him that?
Well, because it will sort of put out the fires of the Brexit party. It will diminish. If you bring
with Theresa May in charge.
Theresa
absolutely, yeah.
May?
But if you bring him on side, then you kill off the or maybe not Theresa May, but Theresa May is his next successor.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So it became a possibility. It's not it's by no means nailed on, but some sort of deal between Theresa May's successor probably and Mr. Farage is not beyond the realms of possibility.
It'll be around a no deal though, right? Because isn't that the Brexit Party's position now?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Yeah.
What do you think, Thomas? You're pulling up a face and a
Well,
half,
I'm-
and we're over
I'm
on
not
camera.
Sure. I'm not sure I could. I forgot about that. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could disagree more actually. Because
Okay.
I think there we've got it's the same thing of her going into talks with Corbyn, which everyone turned up and was like, "What are you doing? This is horrendous." If she actually invited,
But everyone knew we're doomed to failure from the go-get, right?
yes, but if we had Farage on the doorsteps of Number 10 giving his thumbs up to go in and have a little
Bad
samosa
optics,
or
no.
whatever they were eating,
Bargies,
Corbyn
babe,
bargies,
bargies.
then
I don't know why bad optics, because that is it's old school politics. It's using the popularity of Farage and hanging on the coattails of that and saying, "Oh yes, we welcome him in and we talk. We'll."
But we didn't welcome Jerry Adams in. We didn't. He wasn't giving the thumbs up on the steps at the peak of the Troubles.
I don't
later-
quite get the analogy.
It was more. So Farage at the moment is probably enemy number one for Theresa May and the Tories. They are. He is.
What's that thing about keep your enemies closer?
Not in a political. not give them publicity. I think it would be like a Trojan's horse. You would invite him in, and everyone would just turn around and say, "Well, why is he not leader? He's a better leader." I mean, she's not exactly on a level footing at the moment.
It depends who the successor was. If Boris, say for example, does take up the mantle, you could see that happening.
I
for
think
sure.
the only way Farage gets to the table is if there's a general election. He is an MP, and the Brexit Party win enough of the seats, and then they start talking about a coalition. Mm-hmm. Then he's at the table. I cannot see until that is the only point I could possibly see the Tories saying, "Okay, through gritted teeth.
Do you think they might invite the Lib Dems in for a chat if the Lib Dems do really well on Thursday? Because they're the party of Remain, just using the same logic.
It's use the same logic, yeah, but they won't.
Who won't?
The Lib Dems, no.
I think Theresa May's negotiating bit is pretty
not
much
great at
done.
that, though,
I
is
think
she?
if we are looking into the future and we're saying there's maybe not Theresa May there, without a general election, I can't see how much changes and gets through. We are pretty much at the point where they need to put their eggs in a basket and say, let's hope that we can get a majority of something. Or they then strike a coalition with partners who will actually agree and vote for them in the coalition, unlike the DUP.
They were expensive.
I think we're kind of we're in the sort of area where we now have to start looking at the two extremes, I think, which are the no deal Brexit, which incidentally a poll on our website has backed overwhelmingly that if push comes to shove, a no deal Brexit is the better alternative than Mrs May's kind of fudge. But there's also the other option, of course, is revoking and just going back saying, "Oh, guys,
sorry, not sorry." Yeah, they'd love that though.
They would love that. The middle option seems to be the worst of all possible worlds to most people, I think, at the moment, because it is of necessity a massive compromise, and I don't think anyone voted for a massive compromise.
There's no room for compromises then.
No, and I mean, to tie it back, I think the only possible. I was trying to work out how badly the EU elections would have to go to cause Labour and the Tories to look at each other and go, we do need to work together here and just get this deal through, because we are fast getting to a point where the noise is only going to get louder for no deal.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That they might look at each other and say, "Come on, actually." But I think that is honestly Theresa May's hope in this whole thing, which that's not a political move. That's not written in any guide or handbook or memoir.
They are running out of time. That's the other thing we've touched on before. But Halloween is supposed to be the last throw of the Brexit dice, and we have extensions, but increasingly there is nothing in it for the EU to extend our tenure as a member of the EU. And Macron, particularly, will just say, "On your bike, you're gone. Go. It's your problem now." And we need to prepare for that massively as a nation and as a government.
I think the only, depending on what Macron hears from the populace, so depending on how the results go, you could very well have Macron having had listened to Farage goading him into letting us walk away with no deal, and then Macron turning around and saying, "Let's extend this by another year because we've had a lot of noise in the EU Parliament, and I don't think."
And it will hinge a little bit on how Le Pen does in the EU election, in the European Parliament elections as well, I think.
And what sort of coalition of populists would then be formed?
Yeah.
Because if they are a united force, because at the moment the Brexit Party just want to leave. So I haven't entered negotiations with Salvini and Le Pen and all the other little groups. So they could very well, if they were to unite and turn around and say, "Oh, you've given us another year, so we're here for 18 months. We're going to really make this tough." Then I could very well
I also think, I mean, they will have such big problems on their hands internally. It's feasible that this election could spell the demise of the EU even. If Le Pen does really well, Le Pen wants to get rid of the euro. She's sort of toned down a little bit on that recently, but really she wants France to go back to the franc. And if that happens, the euro becomes basically untenable. And if the euro becomes untenable, the whole point of the EU, it needs to push forward on more political and fiscal coming together. And she wants the opposite. And if that starts happening, then it could really spell the slow demise of the EU. It's that massively important, I think, this election.
Incredible. They used to kind of be completely ignored, didn't they? Even by you.
Absolutely.
This is the guy who says he's not voting in it.
No, because there's two things in there. In Europe, in mainland Europe, it's massively important because of the populists. For us, who should be, when we're clearing away our pumpkins on November the 1st, we should be out, shouldn't we? So it's kind of irrelevant. But I have softened my stance, and I will go down. I may destroy my ballot paper. I haven't quite decided, but I will at least turn up because I think it's your democratic duty. You're right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we will convene at some point next week, and we will be on the other side of these seismic
we
events,
will.
We'll know. And maybe actually the Dem sort of swept up all these seats, and we'll be looking at a far softer.
A lot to discuss next week.
Yeah, there's loads.
Be the Peterborough by-election.
Yep.
The whatever happens with, we don't know the day yet that May's bringing this back, but it could be
week beginning the 3rd, 4th, right?
Yes.
The week beginning of
3rd of June, I think it's supposed to be. Yeah.
But
Trump is here.
Trump, yeah. We've
Love Island begins. I mean, we've really got everything to play for. I can't stop talking about it. I'm so excited. So we'll have lots to talk about then.
We will. We will. We always do.
But I feel like, will it be any clearer? Yeah. It's a long week, isn't it? These are just long weeks. Okay, fabulous. Guys, as always, a great honour and a privilege to have you. Do wave goodbye
Always a
to
pleasure.
our,
Always a pleasure.
Our what are they called? Viewers
We are.
on YouTube. Lovely to have you here. And we will convene again next week.
We will.
Ta-ra,
Thank you.
chaps.
Thank you.